Good morning. What an absolute mess. I would call it a shit show, but I'm trying to clean up my language, my friends. Kash Patel crashed and burned yesterday at a Senate hearing. You may have already seen some of the clips from this debacle, but it's hard for me to describe to you how frustrating it is to watch not just Kash Patel, but every corrupted and imbecilic and malign moron in the Trump administration, starting from the very top. Let me share with you this showdown between Senator Cory Booker and Kash Patel. Now, remember, Kash Patel is the director of the FBI. His main qualification for that job before he got it was that he was apparently an angry conspiracy theorist podcaster. And one of his number one goals was to uncover the Epstein files. And now that he is FBI director, he has zipped his lip and said, what was I talking about? Let's watch Booker completely crush Kash.
The thing, Mr. Patel, I think you're not going to be around long. I think this might be your last oversight hearing. Because as much as you supplicate yourself to the will of Donald Trump and not the Constitution of the United States of America, Donald Trump has shown us in his first term and in this term, he is not loyal to people like you. He will cut you loose. This may be the last time I have a hearing with you because I don't think you're long for your job. But I'm going to tell you this. I pray for you. I pray for you that you can step up and defend your oath, defend the Constitution, and do a much better job of defending this country. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Do you want to say anything?
Yes, sir. That rant of false information does not bring this country together. If you want to work on bringing this country, it's my time, not yours.
My God.
If you want to talk about
dividing this country,
it is my
I follow
time.
you on your social media posts that
It is
tear
my
this country
time
apart.
to address
There should be a
your
unifying-
falsehoods.
Oh,
You are an
you can try
embarrassment
all
to the
you
division
want
in this country.
to not
Senator,
take
it is
my
responsibility
time.
for what
You
you
had
have
your
said.
time.
Sir, you're
Your
making
time
a
is
mockery of this
over.
committee. Sir, you don't tell me my time is over.
You
The
know how
people
far
of New
we've
Jersey
come
tell me
since
what my
you
time
tell-
is.
Senator,
You can't lecture me.
You can tell me
Sir,
my
you
time's
have-
over?
You may be the charge of the
I'm not
FBI,
going anywhere.
but I am not afraid of you, sir.
Mr. Chairman,
Not afraid of you.
Mr. Chairman, point of order.
Senator.
Wow. So that was pretty crazy. You can see, Booker was pretty worked up and pretty frustrated by then. But what I want to also show you is when he was being grilled by Adam Schiff, because Adam Schiff took him to task for trying to pretend that it was actually just one person, that Ghislaine Maxwell was helping Jeffrey Epstein procure and traffic girls, that it was only to Epstein himself, which is absolutely not credible. It is unbelievable. It is disrespectful to the victims to say that, because that is not what the evidence suggests at all. I mean, Prince Andrew alone, right? So, there are, of course, more names that have been alleged, but we have to wait for the victims, of course, to make their list and feel comfortable, because apparently our FBI is absolutely unwilling to be truthful with us. So I have pulled that right now so you can see that. And I want to add that I'm only showing you 2 clips from this Kash Patel hearing, because there was so much other insanely disappointing demonstrations that, people might call it we like to think of ourselves as exceptional. And this is exceptional in its own way. It's exceptionally embarrassing, incompetent, menacing, and actually horrific. And I look forward to the day when we can atone as a nation for where we have been, even those of us who did not vote for this, because we owe, as part of our privilege of being Americans, we don't just get to look the other way. We definitely need some truth and reconciliation after this. So let me share this with you right now.
Won't tell us the cabinet members associated with Mr. Epstein. Let me ask you one last question. And that is, right after she gives this testimony in front of an FBI agent, among others, she's transferred to a minimum security prison not suitable for a
He's
sex
talking
offender
about
like
Ghislaine
herself.
Maxwell.
Who made that decision and why?
The Bureau of Prisons.
The Bureau of Decisions made it in
Prisons.
The Bureau of Prisons decided on their own, without any consultation with Blanche or anyone else, that they were going to suddenly, after this interview, completely unrelated to this interview, completely unrelated to anything she said, move her to a prison not suitable for a sex offender. You want the American people to believe that? Do you think they're stupid?
No, I think the American people believe the truth, that I'm not in the weeds on the everyday movements of
you're not in
inmates.
the weeds?
What I am
The
doing is
most-
protecting
the
this country,
most- the
providing
most
historic
significant
reform,
witness-
and
the most
combating the
significant witness,
weaponization of
the
intelligence
Epstein
by the
files
likes of you.
cover-up
And we have
gets
countlessly proven you to
from
be a
your
liar in
administration,
Russiagate, in
and you
January
call that
6th.
being
You are
in
the
the
biggest
weeds?
fraud to ever sit in the
This
United States
stinks to
Senate.
high
You are a
heaven.
disgrace to this
This stinks to high
institution
heaven.
and an utter
And
coward.
I'm not surprised.
I'm not
I'm
surprised
not
that you continue
surprised
to lie
that the-
from
the-
your
that the-
perch and put on a show
view
so you can go
of you
raise money
well,
for your
and for good
charade.
reason.
You are a political buffoon at best.
Well, you can take an internet troll.
Take it
make-
to
you
the
can take
bank
an
that the
internet-
FBI is
you
protecting
can
this
make an
country
internet troll,
and the state and
the FBI
citizens of the
director
California.
will
We
always
are bringing
do nothing
historic
more than an
reform.
internet
Point of
troll.
order.
But all you care about is a child sex predator that was prosecuted by a prior administration, and the Obama Justice Department and the Biden Justice Department did squat. And what did President Trump do? Bring new charges courageously. And what have we done?
Chairman,
You said
take
I'm the
control
most
of this
transparent
situation.
FBI director in history.
Take control of this
33,000 pages of information to you. I challenge you to say anything credibly to the truth. Go ahead and run to the cameras where you want to go now.
Both of you be quiet.
Oh
Before I
my God. Oh my God. No, my friends, that I would not call that normal. I have never actually seen, and I've seen a lot of hearings, anything that even remotely resembles that. So you got a taste of that. I'm sorry. Someone keeps texting me and should know better. I just had to text them back saying, I'm live streaming, friends. Okay. So, great. So here's the deal. This is not normal. And you might just sort of, we're watching this kind of like, oh my God, and we're laughing at this. And it's like, what a show this is. But as I see you guys in the chat, it's sickening. And we cannot forget that this man is head of the FBI. I mean, he is actually, if you can believe it, making Herbert Hoover look good. And that is hard. Is there any doubt in your mind that both Kash Patel, head of the FBI, and Pam Bondi, head of the Department of Justice, is going to go after not just Donald Trump's enemies list, but anyone who stands up to them? I mean, remember, Donald Trump pardoned 1,500 individuals who were convicted in connection with violent attacks on the U.S. Capitol. You know this. And they are accusing, what you just heard Kash Patel doing, is accusing Adam Schiff of corruption in connection with that. And it's really important for me when people bring that up to be incredibly clear about what really happened on January 6th. And I don't want to show you those pictures of violence right now. It is 9:10 in the morning. But what I do want to share with you is the voice of Michael Fanone, the law enforcement member who was one of the three who testified before the committee. And one was Harry Dunn, was Michael Fanone, and I'm forgetting the third guy, and I even had him on my podcast. You guys can remind me. And you remember that Fanone was someone who was beaten over the head outside. He was dragged, and thank God someone spared his life. I think he said, "I'm a father," or something. I want to share with you what Fanone, what he said last night on Chris Hayes. Let's play this.
Those comments by Pam Bondi today and J.D. Vance and others, particularly Pam Bondi, I've seen them sort of reverberate around the Capitol. And I've seen some mixed reaction. And there's been some reporting in the New York Times and Semaphore of Republicans saying, well, wait a second. Maybe we're not on board with this. What is your reaction to the words coming from Bondi, Miller, and Vance, and how seriously to take this as essentially a concerted effort to suppress political dissent, normal political speech?
Look, Donald Trump said very early on that he wants to go after his political opponents, crush free speech, and use the full power of the state to try to stop those people that criticize him. And so in this moment where political violence is on the rise, and this is very serious, instead of actually trying to quell political violence, you see Donald Trump sending out Bondi and Vance to start going after magazines, independent press, independent foundations. Instead of actually trying to address the crisis of political violence, they're trying to weaponize this crisis in order to crush free speech. And as we've seen throughout all of Trump's first term, when people say, no, he doesn't really mean that, that's not really going to happen, we see that they go ahead and do it, and do even worse than we imagine. So we have to take this very seriously and make sure that the American people know about and hear about these attacks on free speech, because it's telling that Vance and others are trying to lie about what they're trying to do, because the vast majority of the American people do not support the full weight of the state being used to crush people's peaceful free speech.
In the second part of that, so that was Rep. Cesar, I want to share with you what Fanone had to say, because this is what's happening now. There is a backlash against anyone. It's this dual state concept. The right was very much against categorizing anything as hate speech. And remember, our hate speech statutes did not criminalize saying hateful things against protected groups. Instead, if you said those things while you were violent against someone, it could enhance the punishment, okay? But they were very suspicious of that. They claim they're free speech absolutists, but they're not. They believe in free speech for me and not for you. They believe in fuck your feelings, but not mine, right? Okay, I want to share with you what Fanone had to say about this intersection between this new effort to crush dissent and to call speech violence.
Well, I immediately thought of you when I saw among the things that J.D. Vance said he said, look, there is no both sides issue here. The left supports political violence more than the right does. That's just a fact. And again, this could get into a sort of perverse kind of accounting that's in some ways impossible. There's hundreds of millions of people in America, all of whom have access to social media and can say whatever. But when you're talking about political leadership, I thought of you because you were on the receiving end of political violence. You know how toxic, insidious, and dangerous it is. And the people that did that to you were pardoned by the president. So what do you think?
I'll tell you what I think. I think that no American politician has done more to normalize political violence in this country other than Donald J. Trump. He has used insightful language, dehumanizing language to describe his dissenters or his political opponents. And I would argue that in pardoning at least the 530 some odd insurrectionists who violently assaulted police officers on January 6, 2021, he is advocating for the use of political violence in furtherance of his administration. He has told his supporters that if you commit acts of violence, I've got your back. And this administration will absolve you of any criminal culpability. And that message has resonated with his supporters.
There was a little clip there of some of that violence, but that's appropriate for Michael, what he was talking about. So friends, we are there. Now, I would say we're in a very dangerous place, but you know that. And most of us will be okay, whatever that means, but a lot of us won't. And I want to, before I kind of talk a little bit more about the plans that Donald Trump has to try to weaponize and distort criminal law statutes and our civil law statutes to go after people who speak out about anything they choose to, which is, I believe, the most essential right in this country. To me, as someone who can't shut up, the First Amendment matters the most to me, and it always has. Okay, I want to share with you something inspiring, then we're going to get back to the negative stuff and what we can do about it. I want to share with you a state senator from Illinois, Senator Villa, who saw that ICE was coming into her neighborhood. And she was literally she was dressed like in, not fancy clothes, but work clothes and high heels. And she must have bolted out of her house, and she was running down the street doing two things. One, warning her neighbors, stay in your house, stay in your car, do not open the door unless there is a criminal warrant. And also, she was saying to the ICE agents, get out of here. Get out of here. This is my city. This is courage. And there is this expression that you may be aware of if you studied film history, that Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers, they were this incredible dance duo couple on camera. And someone once asked Ginger Rogers about her job, and I think she said something that she had to do everything that Fred Astaire did in his dancing, but backwards and in high heels. Now, this may not be backwards, but this is bold in high heels, and I love to see it. Let's play Senator Villa.
Stay in your cars! Tell everyone to stay in their houses! Don't open your doors if there's not a warrant! City! This is my city, that's right! Take off your mask! Take off your mask! What? Inside of your houses, everyone, do not come out!
Did you hear what he said to her? I think he called her a bitch. Let me just listen to that. The first time I heard that, let's listen. Okay.
Inside of your houses, everyone, do not come out. Stay in your houses. Quédense en su casa. Tienen derechos todos. No salgan si no hay una orden firmada por un juez. Corran la voz, por favor.
Okay, let me just go back to this part. Okay, here we go.
Take off your mask. What?
Yeah, I can't hear it in this rendition, but talk about courage, talk about being a leader. I get the chills when I look at her. Yeah, so we have, now I want to turn to something that will also cheer you up. These are Donald Trump's plummeting approval ratings. And I heard someone say that he is now, I think, even underwater with white Americans. Now, this is a YouGov poll from yesterday. And we are looking at what you look at here. This is Trump approval rating. Approval hits a new low in today's YouGov Economist poll, worse than it was at this point in 2017. And if you look at this chart carefully, the two gray dotted lines showed President Obama. That's a President Obama in 2009, right? So the scale across the bottom goes from January through where we are now, which is, late September, right? Now, the gray line, though, is all of 2009. So this is Obama's approval rating at the beginning of his term. You see how high it was, like in the high 30s, and you can see it kind of snake down to where it ended up, and they're showing you around into November. Then you can look at Biden's approval rating in 2021. So this is the positive approval, and then we get below, like disapproval, right? That the line bisecting the center, that's black, is like 0. So Donald Trump's was barely his net approval rating, like between the people who like him, people who don't. Donald Trump started this term higher. This is the red versus the pink. Started this term a little higher than he did his first term. And you can just look at him tanking. He is at negative 17%. So friends, the beatings will continue until morale improves. You know that joke. This is good news. He is going to get more aggressive and more angry, but he was going to do that anyway. That was always his plan. And no, morale is not going to improve. Okay, it is not. And we need to hang tough and fight hard like Senator Vila in the ways that we can. Not everyone is going to run down the street in high heels. Maybe you are just going to have a hard conversation with a family member who is beginning to see the light. Maybe you are someone who is going to help one of your neighbors. Maybe you are someone under threat yourself, and you are going to hunker down and build networks and figure out how to survive this, right? It all depends on where you are. Now, let's talk about Donald Trump and the language he's been using to threaten reporters and to try to shut down speech that is critical of him. As you may know, he is over in the UK, and he was not greeted by the British in, let's say, a loving way. Someone had put on, oh my gosh, you have to see this. I don't know if I can pull it up, but someone had, hold on, London, let me just find this. Someone had superimposed or had projected onto, I'm trying to remember which building it is in London, an image of Epstein and Trump. So that, oh yeah, it was the, on Windsor Castle. So I'm going to pull this up for you. It's kind of beautiful to see this, that this is how the UK is supporting us and also supporting themselves, because they know what Prince Andrew was accused of doing, and that what he settled his case, huge amounts of money with the late Virginia Jeffrey. Let me share this with you so you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, so you have the headline here. I think you can see this. 4 arrests after Trump and Epstein images projected on Windsor Castle. 4 men have been arrested after images of Donald Trump and convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein were projected onto Windsor Castle on Tuesday as the U.S. president arrived in the UK for a state visit. They were arrested on suspicion of, quote, malicious communications following a public stunt in Windsor, end quote, remain in custody. There was a 60-year-old, 36-year-old, and a 50-year-old, and also a 37-year-old from various parts of England. The force said an investigation was underway. Great. So worth it, I would say. for those individuals. Thank you very much from across the pond. So when he arrived, of course, there was a press gaggle around him. And he was incredibly rude and also menacing. Let me start with the rude, and I'm going to lead up to the menacing. Okay, this is a journalist asking him some questions, and let's see how he responds.
Regarded to be the wealthiest man who's ever occupied the White House. How much wealthier are you now than when you returned?
What he's saying, if you can't hear him, is this. You are the wealthiest man to ever occupy the White House. How much wealthier are you? I think is what he's about to say. Let's play that.
How much wealthier are you now than when you returned to the White House?
Well, I don't know. The deals I made, for the most part, other than what my kids are doing, they're running my business, but mostly.
Okay, what he's saying now, if you heard the journalist, is, how much wealthy are you right now in September than you were when you returned to the White House in January? And Donald's like, well, I don't know. My kids run my business. Okay, let's continue.
The deals that I've made were made before. And that's what I've done for a life. I built buildings. Like I'm building a building here. You know where I built? You know what? You see that area? Yeah. That is going to be the greatest ballroom anywhere in the world. And for 150, so it gives me pleasure to do it for the country. And I'm paying for it. I'm paying for it. The country's not, and that's an expensive ballroom.
Okay, this is when he's about to, I apologize. This is when he was about to take off from the White House to go to England. He's not yet in the UK. And he points over to the place where he's knocking down the trees, saying that's his gift, this ballroom, and he's paying for it. First of all, he's not paying for it. Any donor, he's claiming he's having donors do it. What are they doing it for? If there were people who had whatever it cost, $200 million to build this ballroom, right? That is money. I think it's 200 million. Yeah. If he has people willing to give $200 million to support something for the US people, for the American people, why this ballroom? Why not do something that would actually help people in the District of Columbia or in the United States? So that is money that they could have used. He could have used his persuasive powers to help people. Also, I mean, what are they wanting in return? Access to that ballroom. They fund it. They'll be there all the time, rubbing shoulders and influence peddling, which the Supreme Court has determined is not unlawful under our bribery laws at all. They're paying for access. Okay, let's continue.
I think it'll cost $250 million. And,
now the price has gone up by $50 million. $250 million now, $250 million.
It will be, I think, the finest ballroom. So for 150 years, John, you know this? They've wanted a ballroom. And now they're going to finally have it. And it's going to knock your socks off.
That is appropriate, President Trump, that a president in office should be engaged in so much business activity.
Well, I'm really not.
Now this is the journalist from abroad with the accent. He's Australian. Do you think a president, should be engaged in so much business activity? And here's what he's denying that he is, right? We saw the reporting. We talked yesterday. We had Eric Lipton, the New York Times, explaining this deal that was negotiated for Donald Trump's crypto company, where, I mean, we know this, just to put a point on it, synthesizing everything we learned. The United Arab Emirates Sovereign Wealth Fund wanted to invest $2 billion into Binance. They could have done that directly. They could have taken cash and invested into Binance. Instead of using US currency or any other world currency to invest in this company, Binance, this crypto company, what did the UAE do? The UAE converted the US cash into Trump's coin, his so-called stable coin, and then used $2 billion in stable coin to buy this, to invest in Binance. So now Binance, the head of Binance, who is looking for a pardon from Donald Trump, is holding on to $2 billion of Donald Trump's stablecoin. Okay, so this is like me, instead of, I don't know, buying the condo I live in cash, taking my cash and converting it into I don't know, let's say Starbucks gift cards, and then paying in Starbucks gift cards, right? Like, why do I need to do that? He didn't need, the UAE did not need to do that. Well, because Donald Trump's company is enriched by that. Right now, that Bitcoin is going to be sitting in the bank account of the head of Binance. And what does it mean to be sitting there? Well, nominally, you can say 2 billion of Trump's coin is in there, but what does that represent? All that represents is the ability for the head of Binance, if he wants to cash it out, He won't. He'll keep that in his bank. What does that mean Donald Trump's company has? It has $2 billion, which it's invested in, like US treasuries or what have you. That means their company has that. And what they get to do is they get to earn millions of dollars off those investments. That's it. And Donald Trump's company just has to stand ready in case the head of Binance says, you know what, I want my money back. But guess what? The head of Binance, who's holding on now to this Trump coin, $2 billion in it, will never ask for its US dollars back. Why? Because he's looking for a fucking pardon. That's what happened. Okay, I know that would have been a lot for this journalist to ask, so I'm just translating. Let's continue.
Kids are running the business. I'm here. You know what the activity, where are you from?
I'm from the Australian Broadcasting Corporation, Four Corners Program.
Well, the Australians, you're hurting Australia, right? In my opinion, you are hurting Australia very much right now. And they want to get along with me. You know, your leader is coming over to see me very soon.
Okay. You're from Australia Broadcasting Company. You're hurting your country. Your leader is coming to see me. So he's basically, shut the fuck up. I'm going to hurt your whole country.
You set a very bad tone. Well, go ahead, John. Okay.
I'm going to tell him about you. You set a very bad tone. What the hell is this? This is exactly who Donald Trump is. And it gets worse, right? He's saying, I'm going to tell on your boss. What the hell is this? A leader of a country is not the boss of the press. But Donald Trump thinks he is. Now, this is the chilling part. He's still at this interview, this press gaggle, and we get Jonathan Karl. I believe he's at ABC. He has been part of the White House press corps for a long time. You have seen him around. Listen to this.
And what do you make Pam Bondi saying she's going to go after hate speech? Is that, I mean, a lot of people, a lot of your allies say hate.
Okay, so hold on. I'm not going to cut this off. I'm going to let you listen to it all the way through because this one's easier to hear. Again, this is Jonathan Karl, and he is now directly talking about Pam Bondi's press conference. I just want to make sure. Yeah, he's at ABC. So Pam Bondi said that she was going to, basically, well, I'll go play it for a second, but essentially, anyone who essentially criticizes Donald Trump, we're going to come after you, she said. Lovely. I need to remember where she got her law degree. And I'm thinking people should write to her law school and say it should be taken away. But I wouldn't do that because you can't take away someone's law degree, but you can relentlessly mock them for not understanding the law. We'll get to that in a moment. Okay, now take a listen to this whole conversation.
And what do you make Pam Bondi saying she's going to go after hate speech? Is that, I mean, a lot of people, a lot of your allies say hate speech is free speech.
We'll probably go after people like you because you treat me so unfairly. It's hate. You have a lot of hate in your heart. Maybe they'll come after ABC. Well, ABC paid me $16 million recently for a form of hate speech, right? Your company paid me $16 million for a form of hate speech. So maybe they'll have to go after you. Look, we want everything to be fair. It hasn't been fair. And the radical left has done tremendous damage to the country.
Okay. Maybe I'll come after you, he said. And then he talks about the settlement. So there's two things. That's a really terrible threat. we're going to come after you and prosecute you. And then this is where Donald Trump, before I went to bed last night, it just dawned on me what he's saying. When he says ABC settled for a form of hate speech, Donald Trump is talking about how he's referring to all of his defamation lawsuits, and it's sort of vaguely referring to, indirectly, this $15 billion case that he brought on Tuesday against the New York Times. And Donald Trump is really stupid. And he's saying that these cases, defamation, he thinks is hate speech. Why do you think he thinks defamation is hate speech? I think a lot of this is because of the word malice. The word malice, and I think we've talked about this, it colloquially means, malicious, like with a bad intent, right? Which means you dislike someone, you're gunning for them. However, that is not what it means in the legal sense when it comes to defamation. The terms, and we talked about this yesterday, and I can talk about it again. It's really important, and you're going to laugh your head off when I explain this to you. So actual malice, as we have talked about, right, is a standard designed to protect journalists for errors they might make in reporting on public figures. And when you are a public figure, you get less protection when the press makes a mistake. And the thinking is this, that if someone is a public figure or a limited purpose public figure for a particular event, etc., the public's right to know, right to hear is very strong. And that is also part of the First Amendment. So this is a balancing test. You don't want the press or ordinary people to be silenced, to be chilled in their ability to discuss those in power, those public figures who have a microphone, who have the ability to defend themselves and get their story out. So when you sue someone for defamation, remember defamation includes slander, which is spoken, or libel, which is written. When you sue someone for defamation, if you're a public figure, you have to prove that the person who wrote untruths about you, incorrect information, false facts, not opinions, the people who published or spoke false information about you. If you're a public figure, you need to show that they acted with actual malice. And remember, we talked about this before, that actual malice does not mean that you hate the person. Actual malice would mean that you have to prove, someone like Donald Trump would have to prove, or any other public figure, through clear and convincing evidence. So that's a higher standard than more likely than not. It's not as high as beyond a reasonable doubt. Very high standard. If you're a public figure, you need to prove by clear and convincing evidence actual malice. That means showing that the reporter or the journalist, the reporter or the publication, you have to prove that the defendant did either, knew the statement was false, or that they acted with reckless disregard for the truth. Now, it does not mean that about their state of mind or their motive. Doesn't mean that you had a motive to go after someone. And this is where Donald Trump is completely stupid, because this is when I was showing you or telling you about the brief, the complaint that they filed in the New York Times case. And even now, Donald Trump is saying, you hate me, you're vindictive. He thinks that's what actual malice means. And he's going to keep saying this. Why? Because he's a moron. Remember how Donald Trump thinks political asylum is the same thing as insane asylums? And that's why he always brings up Hannibal Lecter when you talk about people coming in and asking for political asylum. And he claims that they're emptying out their insane asylums. And no matter how many times I tell Donald Trump that's not true, he keeps saying it. Part of it, he keeps saying it because he thinks it gets a rise out of people and it's effective at convincing other people who trust him that he's accurate. It's the same thing. He hears the word malice and he's decided it means what he thinks it means. And this is why I think his lawsuit will be thrown out of court. I think the judge is going to dismiss at least most of it or require the complaint to be amended because it fails the very basic threshold under the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure, Rule 8, and therefore would allow a motion to dismiss under 12b6 for failure to state a claim upon which relief can be granted because there is no allegation of actual malice under the legal standard in this filing. I am not a First Amendment scholar, but I do teach civil procedure, and I did also pass the bar, and I also went to an accredited law school, and I think I am not a legal whore like Pam Bondi, and I say that without judgment to sex workers. Pam Bondi and the lawyers who signed onto this lawsuit deserve to be sanctioned, but that will never happen. So I just want to let you know what is going on here. Now, I want you to also actually see what Pam Bondi herself said, because I think this is, it's not great. And I want to share this with you because I think it's worth hearing what she had to say so that you can see how actually disturbing this is to come from the Attorney General of the United States. And I say disturbing. I'm not cowering. I am not going to change what I say or what I do. Of course, I have the privilege that I'm a tenured professor. So it would take a lot, first of all, I don't advocate for violence. I don't say, I don't make threats to people. I'm not afraid that any of my speech would have legal consequences, even if they came after me. And I am such a small fish in this ocean of sharks. So let's, I shouldn't say sharks. I mean, sharks imply aggressive violence. I am a tiny, tiny little clownfish in a sea of beautiful whales. Okay, so let me share this Pam Bondi atrocity with you.
Speech, and then there's hate speech. And there is no place, especially now, especially after what happened to Charlie, in our society.
Do you see more law enforcement going after these groups who are using hate speech and putting cuffs on people so we show them that some action is better than no action?
We will absolutely target you, go after you, if you are targeting anyone with hate speech, anything. And that's across the aisle.
We will let's just listen to that. This doesn't make any sense.
Are targeting anyone with hate speech, anything. And that's across the aisle. There's free speech.
Hold on. Let's just play it one more time because this is actually not what the law is or says at all.
There's free speech and then there's hate speech. And there is no place, especially now, especially after what happened to Charlie, in our society.
Do you see more law enforcement going after these groups who are using hate speech and putting cuffs on people so we show them that some action is better than no action?
We will absolutely target you, go after you, if you are targeting anyone with hate speech, anything. And that's across the aisle.
Target you. If you're targeting anyone with hate speech. So now all of a sudden they're going to go after Donald Trump. I mean, come on. Also, that means if I say, I think Donald Trump is the most dangerous president, this is an opinion, which also would not subject me to defamation. If I say he's the most dangerous person on the planet at this moment, no, actually, I think that's RFK Jr. If I say RFK Jr. is a quack and he should be removed from office, is that hate speech in her mind? I don't know. I'm willing to, I'm willing to try to find out. Now, what Justice Sotomayor, I want to share this with you. Justice Sotomayor was at a law school and NYU. I'm sorry, not NYU, New York Law School. She was at the Constitution and Citizens Day. And she made really clear how she feels about people who don't learn the law accurately, especially when it comes to the First Amendment. So I want to play this for you. I think this is impressive, and I'm so glad that she spoke out in this way. Okay, here we go. I think I can do this.
Gets to me is every time I listen to a lawyer-trained representative saying we should criminalize free speech in some way, I think to myself, that law school failed. All right. If any student who becomes a lawyer hasn't been taught.
I'm starting this over because it was a little quiet and I added some captions.
Gets to me is every time I listen to a lawyer-trained representative saying we should criminalize free speech in some way, I think to myself, that law school failed. All right. If any student who becomes a lawyer hasn't been taught civics, then the law school has failed. It should be as critically a part of the curricula as your first year courses, because it is for that system that you're working as a lawyer. And if you don't understand it, and you don't understand how the system affects you and your clients, then you will never be in a position either to advocate for change or even to represent in a fulsome way. So unlike many, many others who don't like involuntary servitude, I am very much in favor of requiring civic education in law schools. I'm very much in favor of requiring public service in law school. Very broad definition of it. I don't think it's, working for the government or anything like that, but something outside, to work in something outside your classroom, in something where you can make a difference and affect something for the positive. I think these things are critical for law schools to start thinking about and integrating as requirements in their projects.
Yeah.
So, it seems good to me. In many law schools, almost every law school, obviously, you take constitutional law, but that covers the entire Constitution in theory, in the full history. And so not everyone studies the First Amendment in depth when they do a course in constitutional law. I agree with her. Understanding how the branches of government work, that would be helpful. You would think if you went to law school, you'd care to know. But I suppose knowing the law is neither required nor ideal for a position as a lawyer for Donald Trump. Speaking of which, I've got a couple things before we get to crazy town. First, I want to share with you the Deputy Attorney General, who should know better, Todd Blanche, who was on with Caitlin Collins on CNN, asked about using RICO, the racketeer influence. The Racketeer Influence and Corrupt Organizations Act, which I happen to know a thing or two about. And I'm going to play with you what he said. And I'm going to explain to you how batshit crazy it is. And I'm not going to pull out the RICO statute necessarily. I'm just going to look you right in the eye and explain it. Because when I teach RICO in my white collar crime class, it takes several classes and plenty of reading. So won't be doing that. Won't even be sharing my class slides with you. I'm just going to give it to you in a nugget, straight, clear, tasty, and digestible. And we can talk about this in more depth at some other time. Let's listen to this. It's insane.
As you know, RICO has been used to go after like Al-Qaeda MS-13, the Gambino family. How would something like that protest fall under a RICO charge?
That's not what we...
Okay. The protest she's talking about, it's the one we watched the other day when Donald Trump went out to dinner and people came into the restaurant and said, Trump is the Hitler of our time, right? Really catchy. Trump is the Hitler of our time. That is an opinion. You know, Pam Bondi might call that hate speech. I think it's protected speech. And that's why I repeated it with a little snappy dance. Okay, let's start then with that context. And I promise not to cut off Todd Blanche or Caitlin Collins.
As you know, RICO has been used to go after like Al-Qaeda, MS-13, the Gambino family. How would something like that protest fall under a RICO charge?
That's not what we use RICO for only. RICO is available to all kinds of organizations committing crimes and committing wrongful acts, not just organized crime or ISIS or terrorist organizations. And so it depends. So is it, again, sheer happenstance that individuals show up at a restaurant where the president is trying to enjoy dinner in Washington, D.C., and accost him with vile words and vile anger, and meanwhile he's simply trying to have dinner? Does it mean it's just completely random that they showed up? Maybe, but to the extent that it's part of an organized effort to inflict harm and terror and damage to the United States, there's potential investigations there. And that's what the president was saying yesterday in the Oval Office, and what he also has said in the days before that as well.
Okay. But were those women in the restaurant inflicting harm or terror or damage by protesting the president of the United States? I mean, they were just shouting basically in his vicinity.
I mean, repeat what you just said. I mean, honestly, so you're asking whether there's damage done by 4 individuals screaming and yelling at the president of our United States while he's trying to have dinner. That can't be a serious question. That cannot be a serious question. I mean, it's true that there's a difference between shouting and committing an assassination,
There were supporters outside
which is what
as
happened
well.
to Charlie. Well, it depends. There's nothing wrong with peaceful protests, and nobody has ever said so. Of all the people in this country, President Trump knows exactly what it's like to have people protest against him. But what he's talking about, and what the administration is talking about, is organized efforts by individuals who are not present at the protests, but they're funding these protests, and they're not protests. They're inflicting damage and harm and actually assaulting officers. They're damaging vehicles, and that's the conduct that we're trying to stop.
That's not how RICO works. Okay. RICO was a federal statute enacted in 1970. And I agree with Todd Blanche that it is not limited to combating organized crime or the mob. But it's not a catch-all. You don't just get to say the word RICO like it's, you know, a magical incantation. RICO is a way, the statute is created to transform, and this is what I want to explain to you, to transform what might otherwise, when it was first enacted, be state law crimes into federal crimes. It's kind of like the way you would do a conspiracy statute. Let me just explain this. Let's say someone is engaging in murder or engaging in the equivalent of state law bribery or trafficking and so on. If that is happening at a state law level, you would need to typically have state charges brought. However, those so-called predicate acts, if someone is engaging in, and it could be state law predicate acts like murder or state bribery, or it could be federal. There's a whole long list of federal crimes, including things like wire fraud and so on. If those are so-called predicate acts. And so you need specific predicate acts to exist. And someone who commits one predicate act, that's not going to do it. You need certain predicate acts, and you need a so-called enterprise. It could be a corporation, or it could just be a group of individuals who are associated, okay? So in order to make up a RICO violation, the federal government needs to establish beyond a reasonable doubt that there was a RICO enterprise that engaged in a pattern of what's called racketeering activity. The definition of racketeering activity are these certain list of predicate acts. That's the racketeering activity. And what's defined as a pattern is very complicated under law. But the key thing here is none of those predicate acts include shouting at the president. And so this is where I really want to, I am going to pull up the statute just to show this part to you so you understand this. And, I'm giving you the very, very basic, but I know that you can understand this, which is not every, I'm going to make it small, not every crime in the world, if done by an association as a pattern of activity over a period of time, is going to constitute RICO. Okay, so let me just blow this up for you and tell you this is 18 U.S.C. Section 1961. And a key definition is racketeering activity. And I want you to see that if you just look, I'm going to blow this page up a little bit for you. If you just look at, and yes, this is how we write statutes, it says racketeering activity, right? If you just go a few lines, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines, that's subsection A. A are the state law crimes. B is a long list of federal crimes. Okay, so I'm going to tell you, these are the lists of state law crimes, right? Okay, murder. So let's just ask, is speaking any of these? Is shouting at the president any of these? Is it murder? No. Is it kidnapping? No. Is it gambling? No. Is it arson? No. Is it robbery? No. Is it bribery? No. Is it extortion? No. Is it dealing in obscene matter? No. Or is it dealing in a controlled substance or listed chemical? No. Okay, only these types of state crimes, and states do different definitions, which we punishable by imprisonment for more than 1 year. So only a state law felony that would be any of those I read to you would constitute a predicate act for RICO. Now I'm going to scroll up and you will note Part B. It gives a long list of federal crimes. In addition, that could be predicate acts. Okay, and so again, is shouting at the president before he eats dinner any of these? Bribery? No. Sports bribery? No. Counterfeiting? No. Oh, theft from an interstate shipment? No. Embezzlement from a pension and welfare fund? No. Is shouting at the president extortionate credit transactions? No. Straw purchasing? No. Trafficking in firearms? No. Fraud related to your identification documents? No. Is shouting at the president fraud in connection with access devices? No. Is it involved with gambling? No. Is it any kind of fraud, which means trying to take money or property from someone through false statements or pretenses? No. Is it financial institution fraud? No. Is shouting at the president foreign labor contracting? No. Is it procurement of citizenship or nationalization unlawfully? No. Is shouting at the president, I mean, I could go on and on. You can look at these. None. It's not even money laundering or murder for hire, blah, 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 blah. Okay. And by the way, any state includes the District of Columbia. I'm stopping sharing. I could lose my fucking mind with these people. Todd Blanche, where the hell did you go to law school? Let me look. Todd Blanche. I know I've only got a minute, but there's only some crazy town. Todd Blanche. Okay, it's a good law school, Brooklyn Law School. It's legit. He's 51 years old. He has not learned anything about RICO, and he should know better. His client should take, not Trump will never take back the money, but anyone who was ever a client of his should be concerned. And Pam Bondi, did she actually go to law school? Indeed, She went to Stetson, another good law school. Okay, I have friends who teach at both. These are real law schools. And I assure you, at Stetson and at Brooklyn Law School, they teach you how to read a statute. And I don't want to be a bitch about this, but I also happen to go to Harvard Law School. It also is a legit law school. And I also teach in the area of white collar crime. And I can read a fucking statute. And I'm not bought and paid for by a maniac. So I think you should trust my assessment. Oh, not only did I write a book about white collar crime for the public called Big Dirty Money, but I'm a co-author of a white collar crime casebook that is used in law school classrooms that has a chapter on RICO. And unfortunately, I just updated that casebook because I cannot wait in the next edition to include this bullshit, because I will. I will excerpt these speeches. And hopefully, by the time that happens, this regime will be out of office and I can spit on its grave metaphorically. Friends, I am worked up for a Wednesday. And that brings me to one last thing. I'm sorry, I'm carrying over before we get to Crazy Town. We need a little inspiration from the wonderful Congresswoman, Jasmine Crockett, and then we'll do Crazy Town.
They're absolutely wrong. Here's the reality. They don't want American people to know any forms of history. We know that there was news out today about the president going after yet more historical information. The reality is that when we look at what is taking place, when you look at an authoritarian, and what they do is they try to basically say, you have to do whatever the government says, even if that means that your personal freedoms are going to be subjected to whatever we say, whether it's right or wrong. Right now, our personal freedoms are constantly under attack. Your first question was specifically about our First Amendment rights. Right now, it is about doing whatever the man who currently occupies the White House wants done. There should not be anyone that faces consequences because they actually know history and they are trying to prevent even more disaster and harm from coming to the American people. What crosses the line is when you say things, especially on air, like, yes, euthanize homeless people. That is a problem. Or when you're having a rally and you start talking about beating up people and causing physical harm. Or when you joke about what happened to Mr. Pelosi when he was attacked. Or when you decide that there are over 1,500 people that were charged and convicted, whether it was in a trial or they signed plea agreements after beating law enforcement and tearing apart our Capitol, and you decide to let them go free. It seems like violence is okay if it is only because the man that is currently serving in the White House asked for it, even when we look at ICE officers and what they are doing to those that are accused of violating our law. That is what they think violence is okay for. But then when it ends up happening and it comes back on the other side, they claim that it's because of the Democrats. And
So you hear it. Now, let us turn to Crazy Town. Crazy Town is this time Donald Trump talking about Fani Willis, calling her a criminal. Donald Trump, who is a convicted felon, who was found guilty by a jury in New York on 34 felony counts for felonious business falsification in order to influence the election of 2016. Donald Trump, convicted felon. This is, my friends, this is going to be our Crazy Town. I've decided that my Crazy Town dance is going to have a little snap because it's going to be reminiscent of Trump is the fascist of our time. It has a little mix into the Crazy Town. Okay, let's play this insanity.
Court this morning denied Fani Willis's appeal of your case removing this on paper. You had
Well, that was a great decision. It was a rigged case to start off with. It's great.
Speaking of which, this is about finding Willis, and she was kicked off the case in Georgia because of the supposed conflict of interest. That's a separate issue from whether the case was legit. This was a RICO, a state law RICO case against Donald Trump.
The court just ruled that she is a disaster. She's a disaster with a boyfriend. The boyfriend that she paid $1 billion for his expertise, but he never did it before. Now, she should be prosecuted. What she did to people, forget about me, what Fannie Willis did to innocent people, patriots that love our country, what she did to them by indicting them and destroying them, she should be put in jail. She's a criminal.
Yeah, I don't think so, Donald. Okay, guys, have a beautiful Wednesday. I will see you tomorrow morning. Oops.
Hello, prison mates. It's the Gen Taub Show. Well, how come everyone? Let's learn about what is happening in politics yesterday and today. There was hope, and we are together in this democracy we work for. And again, welcome to the Gen Taub Show. Hello, prison mates. It's the Gen Taub Show. Well, how come everyone? Let's learn about what is happening in politics yesterday and today. There was hope, and we are together in this democracy we work for. And again, welcome to the Gen Taub Show.